Ashoka Mukpo. He knows. He's the freelance NBC cameraman who contracted the deadly disease in Liberia. And he sat down with our Don Lemon to talk about the intolerable pain he endured before he recovered and why the nurse in Maine fighting a home quarantine, despite everything he's going to tell you, is in the right.
Is there any way to describe what the illness feels like?
Well, I want to find ways to help people understand it, but it's like nothing that I had ever experienced.
Pain?
Yeah, there was pain, certainly muscle pain, muscle aches, very high fever. I think at one point my fever was at 104. But I think the thing that was the most pronounced for me almost out of everything was the weakness, the physical weakness. And I used to see people who would be laying in front of treatment centers trying to get admitted, and they're just laying out in the ground, in the gravel, in the sun, and I used to look at them and say, my God, you can't sit up at least. And then once I was sick, I completely understood. You just have absolutely no energy. To walk 3 feet feels like you just ran a marathon.
So how did you get it?
My feeling, and I'll never know this for 100% certainty, is that I touched an infected surface in one of the high-risk areas that I was, and then either didn't chlorinate fast enough before I touched my face. Maybe I rubbed my face or something like that.
Casey Hillcox, who's a nurse, says, she's back in Maine now, and she says, you know what? I don't feel like I should be in quarantine. I'm not, I'm asymptomatic, and this is, in violation of my rights. And she said she's going to do what she wants to do, pretty much.
Good for her.
You agree?
Good for her. She's earned the right to, have a sense of her own safety and her own risk factor to others. And I don't think that Dr. Spencer endangered anyone. My feeling is, and again, I'm not an expert. This is just my own view on the exposure that I've had to Ebola. Is I think that Governor Christie is playing politics right now. It seems to me that it's an effort to, work with public opinion rather than listen to the advice of the experts. And I just think that it's counterproductive. These are people who have gone and endangered their lives to work with people who have very limited resources and are dying in, relatively large numbers. So to make it more difficult and to treat them as if they're a potential problem as opposed to a public asset, I just think it's a shame.